Okay, this is the engine compartment of our little Duster, little Plymouth Duster. Great color combination. I love this car. Engine compartment and the engine, everything is correct and original to the car. Correct exhaust manifolds, cast iron, just the way they came from the factory. Correct air cleaner for 1972, 344 barrel designation. The carburetor has been replaced. These would have come with a thermoquad, which were problematic from day one, and someone has replaced it with a dual feed Hawley type setup. I don't know the CFM on it, probably a 600, 650, something like that. But at any rate, a much better system than the smog-oriented one was to begin with. Has power steering, power brakes, and factory air conditioning with the original V compressor on it yet. Really nice setup. A set of Moroso chrome valve pan covers. All the lines are nice and fresh and clean. Has a nice set of high silicon plug wires with, let me see here, the original Mopar distributor that this car was released with, still intact. It is an electronic system, by the way, for 72. 26-inch high-flow, high-capacity radiator that would have been correct for an air-conditioned car. It does have a clutch fan on it. The clutch is nice and stiff on it yet. All the belts have been replaced. They're all nice and fresh-looking. All the lines for the air conditioning system are nice and clean yet. No deterioration whatsoever. Condenser in the front doesn't have any dinghies or marks or anything whatsoever on it. There is an aluminum intake manifold on this also, as opposed to a cast iron one. So someone's modified it just enough to make it more dependable, run a little smoother, nicer, a little bit more get up to it than the original cast iron and thermoquad would have had. New battery in it. You see the fender wells are nice and clean as can possibly be. Number on the front of the core support here, which means this car has never been bumped or had any trauma whatsoever on the nose of it. Also the fender tag, which is very legible, nice and clean, which also agrees with the VIN tag on the dashboard. So this car has suffered absolutely no trauma whatsoever in its life. All the ID indicators are still very legible and in place just the way they should be. No leaks on the valve pan covers or intake manifold. It's like the motor has been freshened up some. Paint's nice and fresh on it on the sides. You can't tell if it's been out, but it certainly must have been because everything is too clean and too freshly painted on the engine. Steering box doesn't show any leaks whatsoever, neither does the power steering pump. Again, I don't see any oil leakage, seepage, anything whatsoever on the front of this thing. These motors made some very substantial horsepower. They were very underrated. They rated them at like 275 horsepower. I don't know what they rated them in 72, probably 245 or something, but certainly they were certainly above that. They were overachievers. When he ran these against 350 Chevys, they usually didn't come out in second. They did a very good job of presenting themselves. Nice clean engine compartment, nice substantial horsepower. You got all three amenities that you need: power steering, power brakes, and air conditioning. The original air that came with this car. Fantastic engine compartment. We're going to go around the rest of it and show you the rest of the car. Hi, you're at Hanksters in Daytona Beach, Florida. Got a really sharp looking Mopar for you today. Great color combination. About as nice and sharp a one as you'd ever find, other than maybe red and white, but people that like blue aren't going to buy red. So we're going to go over this and see if we can show you every little tiny thing I can pick out on the car. So let's get started. Paint on the car is very nice, much nicer than it ever was when it was released from the factory. Someone's done an exemplary job of laying on some very nice paint on this car. The fit of the hood to the cowl to the front fender is 1/8 of an inch. It cannot get any better fitment-wise than it is right here. This is as nice as it gets. Nice chrome on the hood scoops. No deterioration whatsoever, no patina. Same thing with the Plymouth designation on the front, and the fitment on this side is the same as it was the other side. You just cannot get it to fit any better than that. And I love the paint on this thing. This thing is about as nice a vehicle condition-wise as you could ever find. Great combination color-wise too. Shark tooth grill in it. Everybody's choice of a grill for these early Dusters, 70, 71, 72, everyone loves this grill. This is argent on the trim sides of it. The insets are all black plastic, and none of them have been chipped out or deteriorated whatsoever. Parking lights inset into the grill area. Your anodized aluminum around the headlights and surrounding the grill. No stone chips, no marks, absolutely nothing. It's as nice as you're going to find. Let's check this bumper fitment. And that is as nice as you'll ever find a front bumper fitment too. That is like really spot on. Chrome on it is exemplary. There's no scuffs or marks or anything from some idiot putting his foot up on it through the years. Front bumper, there's no marks, no dents in it either. No stone chips from rocks coming up and striking it on the front. The front bumper, the chrome is just as nice as you'd ever want to find. I don't see anything on the nose of this car that's out of line. Everything lines up as it should. The quality of every component on the front of this car is as good as you would ever hope to find on one. Certainly the paint is much nicer now than it ever was when it was new. By the way, this color, at first I saw it, I thought it was called Petty Blue. It is not called Petty Blue, it's called Blue Bayou. Neat name, huh? Blue Bayou. Anyway, they should make a song about that. Let's go down the driver's side, see what we can find. Okay, driver's side of our little Duster. You can see Duster designation on the front. And by the way, this is reflective, the word Duster. This is not, but this is. Side marker light in the front, really nice. Tin. Look at the fitment of this thing. You believe this? How could you possibly get something to fit any better than that? Look at this. We're looking at, I'm telling you, this got to be about the 10th or 11th car that really we haven't had to do anything with. I think the last adjustment I had to make was on that 56 Ford truck. I think that was it. The two doors needed adjusted. Other than that, everything door-wise has been spot on. We haven't had to adjust. A little hood tweak here and there, a little deck lid tweaking here and there. So far, nothing on this guy, though. But look at this. Unbelievable. Correct wiper arms and blades. Tinted windshield in the front. It's got air conditioning, so it's probably got tinted glass all around. No marks on the glass whatsoever. Correct fasteners for your VIN plate on the dashboard on the metal part. Let me see. There is right here, and I would guess because someone had an inspection sticker here, there's a little cut about 3/8 of an inch long. You won't even see it when you're in the car, but I can see it looking straight down on it, on the very edge of that dashboard. And certainly nothing that would ever dictate you to replace that. But I'm telling you, there's a mark there just so you know it. You know we're not trying to hide anything. The front part, the middle part of the dash, where it transitions to the base of the windshield to the rubber seal, is as nice as you would ever hope to find, and just crystal clear. This car, by the way, has a lot of originality to it. It has a ton of paperwork with it, and it is a engine transmission correct car. This thing is a real survivor. Correct Mopar mirror, a little patina right here on it. It's still the original mirror. Right here, nothing on the, a little tiny bit in the front, not much. You would leave it. You would never replace that for what's on it. It has originality. The white whiskers, all fresh and clean. They look like they're original yet, but they do not need replaced. Check out this window fitment. Really nice. Could not get any nicer. Drip rail. No marks, no dinghies on the drip rail. The roof is just absolutely glass smooth. Looks like wet paint. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. No marks, no dents, no deviations, no imperfections in the paint. The paint on this car is just over the top. I love this white stripe. Original door handles, little tiny bit you can see of age to them, but nothing that you would replace. The chrome on them is just as nice as you would ever hope to find on a car that's this vintage. Look at this again. Are you kidding me? That's unreal. No dents, no marks. Absolutely nada. Chrysler Air Temp designation on it. Swing out windows, these are neat. You can help ventilate the car if you don't want to use the air conditioning on it. The days where it's not that hot. Trim around the back light. No dents, no dinghies. Hatch shelf itself is original, does not need to be addressed in any fashion. Just as nice and clean as we ever hoped to find. Aftermarket pair of speakers in the back. This car is just totally rust-free everywhere. There's absolutely no Bondo anywhere. Nice as you'd ever want to hope to find. Our little dust trail from the Duster here. See him peeking at you? And 340 designation on the back, because that's what it is. Side marker lamp in the back. Little gas filler cap. This thing doesn't have a deviation at all down the side of it. Honestly, when you look right here, there's no doors on it. You got to go over to here to see that there's a crack there, and I still can't see the one in the front, to show that it actually has a door. That's how well these doors fit on this vehicle, at least on this side. I don't know about that side yet, but we'll find out. White leather tires, everybody's choice. These are Dunlops, BFGs, Dunlops, Coopers. That's about what all of them have. 14-inch rally wheels, everyone's choice anymore. When we have a Mopar or a Chevy, Ford guys are a little, they'll deviate a little bit, but Chevy guys and Mopar guys, it seems like all of them want rally wheels on these cars anymore. You know, a lot of times we get them with an aftermarket wheel. Their preference, the buyer's preference, usually has been leaning toward the original equipment style rally wheels, so that it does have the originality that it was released with. At any rate, this side is spot on. Let's go out back, see if there's something there. Okay, back end of our little Duster. Again, check the paint out on this, but look at the fit. Look at this. Can you believe this? Absolutely as precise a fitment of that deck that you could ever hope to find. One stone chip here, I don't know if something closed on it. It didn't dent anything, but there's a chip out of the paint. It needs to be brush touched there, and somebody closed something in the trunk, so there's a little indent. Well, it's not actually an indent, an outdent, but you can see where somebody closed something. It didn't really break the paint, but you can see something was there. You know, you got to really look to see it. It's so minuscule, you got to look to see it. But if you look at the correct angle, you will see a little deviation there. Plymouth on the back, white striping, again, just as nice as you'd ever want to hope to find. Our little reflective Duster 340 on it. Little eyeballs there looking at you in a little dust storm. Argent trim around the tail lights, which are nice and crystal clear. Just nice as you'd ever want to have. There's a little tiny chip. I don't know what the hell that is. A little chip there. A little tiny one. Bumper fitment. That is as good as you'll ever find. Again, top of the bumper, no one's made any attempt to distort it and scratch it in any way. Back part of the bumper, no one's backed into anything. There's no dents or dinghies whatsoever. The correct style, rectangular exhaust tip sticking out the back, just the way it would be for a 340 Duster. Everything lines up as it should on the back end of this car. The striping, the tail lights, the deck lid, absolutely everything is almost as flawless an alignment as you could ever hope to find on any vehicle, this one or any other one. We got one more side. Okay, our last side, other than a couple little tiny things, we didn't find anything on this guy. 340 designation, our little Duster, a little dust storm in the back here. Side marker light just the way it should be, nice fitment, nice and tight. Again, tin everywhere. Trim around the back light. No marks whatsoever. Glass nice and clean and clear. I didn't mention on the other side, but the sail panel is just as nice and fresh as you'd ever want to see. Really nice. Paint on the top of this car, and I mean the whole car. The whole car is just exemplary. It's just an absolutely beautifully done paint job in this car. Could not ask for anything any better. Again, look at this. You got to be kidding me. Door handle, original. Window fitment couldn't be any nicer. Wife's whiskers, same as the other side. Drip rail, not an imperfection, not a single one. Unbelievable. Look at this. And this is a low-line car for Chrysler. This was basically their least expensive car. And the fitment of this thing is just exemplary. Unbelievable. Trim around the front window, wiper blades, same. You know what? That has to be a shrinkage. That's not a cut because there's another little tiny crack on this side, exactly the same position where that one was. So apparently that dash, is the original dash, shrunk through the years, and where it turns, it just split. There's about 3/8 of an inch, maybe not even that. We'll call it 1/4 inch to 3/8. More like 1/4. And you can't see it anyway. You can see it right here if you look right at it. There's a little tiny crack there and a little tiny crack there. Absolutely nothing that would dictate you'd replace anything. Look at this. Are you kidding me? Look. Pentastar, original designation for Chrysler, the original single mast antenna that came with it with the correct base. Tin, Duster, side marker lamp. Also a little mark here. I don't know what it is. It's not in the paint. I think, again, just like the deck lid, someone closed something with something on this inner fender panel. There's a little tiny bit of a rise there. You can see that something has pushed on it just a hair, but nothing that would ever dictate that you would try to repair or repaint this area or that one back there. You really have to, I'd really have to look to see. Now I can't find it. Yeah, there it is. Really got to look to find it. I'm just telling you, it's there. We went over this whole car. You just watched us do it. Devin and I went entirely around this thing, and I found tiny little minuscule little imperfections. Again, this is no new Porsche or a 488 Ferrari. This is 50-year-old Mopar. So it's just a really great exemplary car for that era. It's a great color combination. You couldn't get much better than blue and white on the car. It does have tinted glass, does have air conditioning, power steering, power brakes, rally wheels, white letter tires, and again, a combination color-wise that... and we have all the paperwork for this guy too. We have build sheets, we have the original manuals, we have just a stack of paperwork to do with this guy, which we'll present to you. Devin will take pictures of it and show you. So this is a correct car. It's not something that is just thrown back together again. The undercarriage, you'll see in a minute here, is original. It's just been cleaned up. Haven't done anything else to it. Didn't need any repairs whatsoever. Car's just an exemplary vehicle for this era. 340 Duster, very popular car. They're on the lower end of the muscle car price range. It's not a car that you have to pay $50,000 or $60,000 for, or 70 or 80 or 90 on some of these cars that we sell. This is a car that you're going to buy in the 30s, middle 30s, and the car is just done to the nth degree. You can't ask for a nicer example of a Plymouth Duster than you have right here at Hanksters in Daytona Beach. So take a look at it. Okay, we're inside of our little Blue Bayou Duster. Really neat car. This thing has a lot of charisma to it because of the color combination in it. And the white interior. And whenever you start looking at this vehicle, it's original. This is not a replaced interior in this vehicle. These are the original seats that were installed by Chrysler. Fantastic condition. The padding hasn't deteriorated at all. Dome light still functioning. Not that that's important, but it does work. No armrests in the back. It's deleted from that. Didn't have the optional armrest. It does, however, have the correct molded ones on the door that are original, and the original door panels that are not warped or deteriorated whatsoever. A little tiny bit of a cut here. Somebody must have had a spare pair of steel-toed shoes or something and hit it. A little tiny scrape there on the vinyl, but that's it. Back seat looks like it was never really used. It has seat belts in the rear. The panels in the back, as I stated, are just as nice and clean and fresh as the ones in the front. The headliner in this, at this point in time, instead of using a regular soft headliner with the bows in it. They went to a solid one-piece headliner, and that's what this guy has. It's a vinyl coated, probably a cardboard type material or fibrous material, but at any rate it's one piece and it is not deteriorated. It is absolutely like the day it was new. Seat belts in the front, also has shoulder belts in the front of this thing, so really great addition to any vehicle. Again, the dash is as nice as you'd ever want to find. I don't see anything really other than those couple little marks there. Steering wheel, no splits or cracks, not even on the spokes. They're just as nice as you'd ever want to find. Nice horn button, yet still resilient. That works. The lumber on the dashboard around your gauge cluster, none of it is beginning to peel or anything. It's just as nice as it was when it was new and original. And the same with the wood grain on the console, which, by the way, has a huge glove compartment in it. And you got one in the dash, too. The original Mopar style air conditioning vents underneath. Parking brake, just a manual parking brake. The gauge cluster, again, is full instrumentation, and it is just as clean and clear as can be. You got a speedometer, and you got a quadrant of gauges on it, too. Oil pressure, temp, fuel, and amp. Aftermarket radio in it. I don't know why somebody put that, but they didn't hack the dash up. They put the radio in, and it's not messed up at all. They didn't go in there with an air chisel and drills and everything else trying to put an aftermarket radio in it. It is, however, just a cassette player, which I don't even know if they make cassettes anymore, but you probably want to install a CD in the glove compartment and just leave this guy alone. The carpeting is the loop style carpeting, just the way it was released from Chrysler. The trim, which is usually deteriorated on these A-body consoles, is not on this car. The trim is just as though it was new. There's no marks whatsoever. I don't see any patina, not even on the trash tray, which isn't loose. It's nice and firm yet, the slide. Oh, wow. Duster designation on the doors. Little tiny bit of wear on the top of this door, probably from a wristwatch or something a gentleman had that owned this, or it could have been from his wife's tennis bracelets, who knows. But there's some marks on the top of that door. I think we'll just leave them alone. They're very small, and it adds originality to it. New rubbers, no, they're not. They're the original rubbers, and they do not need to be replaced. Nope. They're still resilient, and they are original. They are not replacements. Door jambs themselves, nice and clean. All original paint inside the door jambs yet. Just a great looking car. I don't see anything in this vehicle. Got an aftermarket set of floor mats in it, front and back. No milkiness whatsoever to the rear view mirror in this guy. It's nice and tight yet. It is not a day-night mirror. It's just a conventional mirror. But everything in this car is just as nice as you'd ever hope, and it's original. This is not a put-in aftermarket interior. This is Chrysler's original interior that was installed on this car when it was born in 1972, 71, 72. No wear at all on the brake, gas, and brake and gas pedal. We have a parking brake here. Great interior in this car. It matches the outside of it. I mean, it's an all original car. It's had a repaint to it, but other than that, I can't see anything on this car that's been disrupted in any way. I mean, there's just so much originality here that you'd want to retain it as it is. You know, yes, there's a couple little tiny minuscule defects in the car, but you'd never want to go ahead and try to address them. It's just the fitment of the car, the finish, the overall appearance of this thing has originality. It's something that, with the documentation that we have with this car, it's going to make it a real collectible piece and a nominally priced muscle car that you can have a heck of a lot of fun with. Take a look at it. It's at Hanksters in Daytona Beach, Florida. Documentation with the vehicles that they're buying when they're number correct vehicles, and this 72 Plymouth Duster is a numbers correct vehicle in every way, and this is the documentation to show its authenticity. Here's the original build sheet on the car. This is the original build sheet that was found underneath the seat. Original owner's manual, not a reproduction. Original emission manual. original paperwork, just tire pressures and everything from Chrysler. And this is just copies of the, and they're laminated, of the original. Which one is not laminated? It still is original condition in a plastic folder. Devin's going to give you a high-resolution picture of it so you can check it if you want. This is the original little plastic brochure that this booklets and everything came in. So you have a documented, numbers correct, 1972 Plymouth Duster. Correct color, correct interior, original interior, by the way, and correct in every way. Here it is. Ooh, our little Blue Bayou dustpan. Let's see what we got here. We got an alternator functioning as it should. Just working away as it should there. You can see the alternator charging. Fuel gauge showing about a quarter of a tank, which is really good for us. We're usually on empty. Temperature gauge just beginning to come up. We just fired this guy up, so it's just starting to come up. It does have air conditioning. It was cold. How about that? All right, let's see. We have a horn. Definitely works. Left turn signal functioning as it should. Right turn signal just beating itself to death over here on the right hand side. And let's try our wipers. Look at that. If it rains, we're good to go. So we have a full complement of accessories here that seem like they function as they should. So let's go for a ride and see what this guy runs like. I know what it runs like. I used it for about 3 days. Good car. Oh, but it's coming up just as though it should. Speedometer is nice and smooth. It's not jumping around anywhere. Pulls a little tiny bit to the left. I mean, a very, very little tiny bit to the left. Let's see how it stops. It pulls to the left when it stops too. So that disc up here is grabbing a little bit sooner than that one. I don't know why, but it is. We'll have to take a look at that and find out why. Just ever so slight. It's not like it's yanking it out of my hand, but it drifts over just a little bit to the left. We have to get that addressed. That's something we have to pay attention to. Nice running car. It's real smooth, tight. There's no shakes, rattles, shimmies. Absolutely nothing. It's a nice car. All our cars are nice. We don't sell junk. We sell nice stuff. And as you can see, any little idiosyncrasy that we can pick out when Devin and I do these videos or the drives, just like I said back there, it's pulling a little bit to the left. Before we deliver this car, before this car is shipped, this vehicle will have that addressed. It'll have that attended to. Oh, somebody in front, somebody behind. Up a little bit here. About 70. It's a nice running car. Pulls well, drives well. A little bit of tug to the left there, but that's it, which will be addressed prior to shipping this vehicle. All your gauges are running just as they should. Speedometer is accurate. I don't know about the radio, I don't care either. All the other things working. The wipers, your interior lights, everything on this vehicle works just as it should, and it has cold air conditioning. The console's really nice and clean. This is a nice car. And the documentation will knock you out whenever you see what we have for paperwork for this vehicle to substantiate its authenticity. It's a very, very nice documented, relatively inexpensive muscle car. These A-body cars are just started to catch on. Guys that don't want to spend quite the Roadrunner money or the Super B money will buy one of these, and they run just as well. They're a car that honestly they'll run door to door with a 383 Roadrunner anytime you want to try them. Nice strong 440s, or 440s, 340s. This is the undercarriage of a 1972 Blue Duster. About as nice a car as you're ever going to find. fully documented car. Everything is correct on it, just the way it should be. Tons of paperwork. Numbers correct engine, numbers correct transmission. No question. Both very evident. Both nice, clear serial numbers on it. New bushings on the new ends on the sway bar in the front. New shocks in the front. Disc brakes. Calipers are real nice yet. The rotors are nice and fat. You can see that it's been recently greased. It looks like the tie rod ends have been replaced at some point in time. Probably a new pitman arm also, and a new idler arm. They both look like as though they're new. So front end of this thing is just as nice and solid as you ever hope to find one. The fender wells where they transition onto the subframes in the front here, usually there's a mark on, some idiot put a jack stand here, little tiny bit of a kink. I can straighten that out with a crescent wrench, you'll never see it. So I guess we'll do that. But a couple little marks on the subframes from jack marks through the years, but nothing really distorted, nothing substantially bent or anything. Just the way you would expect usage through the years. Let's see here. Cooling lines going for the radiator, still metal lines, just the way Chrysler had them. Torque flight tranny, no leaks whatsoever on the engine, as you can see, or the transmission. There are absolutely no leaks whatsoever. Even the speedometer, gear drive is dry. No leaks on the tail shaft where it comes out. The universal joint. I call these 2 1/8 pipes. They come out of here about a 2. You know what? This is 2 1/4. This is 2 1/8 going into 2 1/4 inch pipes that go into a set of standard Mopar style under chassis mufflers. Floor pans in this vehicle and all the tin on this vehicle is original sheet metal. I don't see any place where it's been ever disrupted through the years. Brake lines going toward the rear are original and nice condition. Fuel line's the same way. It being a 72, it does have the double fuel line with the vent line on it, and that is in excellent condition also. The original parking brakes still hooked up and functional. Floor pans themselves, absolutely no issues. You can see where they're crimp welded onto the sides of the rocker panels. Same thing with this one, same way. The structural supports underneath are just as nice and clean as you'd ever hope to find any of them. There's a little mark here. It looks like there's, I'm going to guess that someone was pulling onto a rack or possibly ran over something. A little tiny bit of a crease here. Certainly nothing that cut it or disturbed it in any way structurally, but there's a little tiny crease going across the one floor pan here on the passenger side. A little bit of a dent here too. That's just, again, normal usage through the years. It's hard to say what's happened to this vehicle in the last 50 years or so, pretty close to that. Nice condition, floor pans all original, no scale whatsoever, no deterioration, no issues where any type of rust had to be addressed, absolutely none. Torque boxes in the front for your leaf springs, in the rear are just nice and clean and fresh. Subframes in the rear do not have any marks whatsoever on them. They're just as nice and clean as you'd ever want to find. They must have put all their jack stands and did all the jacking up front. Leaf spring rear suspension and nice curvature to them yet. They still have a little bit of a curvature to them to hold the back end of this car up. Air shocks in the rear, so you can adjust the rear ride height of this thing to pretty much anything you choose. Again, the brake lines are original and nice. Drum brakes in the rear. Heavy duty 8 3/4 Mopar rear end, totally indestructible, and you can see no leaks whatsoever on it also. 2 1/8 pipes coming out of the mufflers, the under chassis mufflers, going into the correct style stainless steel tips to transition out through the rear. Floor pans, all original, and you can see that they're absolutely untouched. Even the little tabs are still evident in the bottom of the quarter panels where the drop downs transition onto the base of the quarter panels. The spare tire well is just as clean and nice as you'd ever want to hope to find. Car still holds a lot of its original splatter undercoating that was installed by Mopar. Big dent in the gas tank here, so whatever they ran over there came back and hit this. Who knows? It might have been a piece of log, a cement. I don't know. I have no idea. Just a rough guess, but there is a dent. Certainly nothing that constitutes a replacement of this tank. It doesn't leak. It's not structurally compromised in any way. Nice rounded rubber on this thing yet. It's not new, but you'd never replace any of it. It's all in excellent condition. Again, you can see there's absolutely no leaks whatsoever on this particular vehicle. Some slight jack marks or jack stand marks through the years on the front. I don't see anything whatsoever on the rear section of the subframes on this vehicle. Nice undercarriage. It really presents itself well. Nice dry car underneath. It's a correct vehicle, correct engine, transmission, and rear end in this guy. It's available here at Hanksters. It's kind of a one-off car. It's a great color combination, and Devin's going to show you all the paperwork that we have to back up the authenticity of this vehicle. Nice car. Take a look at it. Hanksters, Daytona Beach.